Hi, everybody. I want to take a couple minutes talking about our workshop reflection assignment that we are doing this week. Reflection is an important part of the writing process because it allows us to, step back from the piece that we're actually writing and think and ruminate on what is working well, um, sort of unpack our emotional responses to the feedback. Because sometimes getting feedback can be emotionally draining. You spend so much time creating these characters and these worlds. It's hard to hear sometimes that they're not as vibrant or as effective as we had hoped. I mean, we love our babies. We don't like hearing anybody tell us that they're less than perfect. But constructive criticism is a good way to help us improve our writing, and the reflection allows us to kind of look at that feedback objectively. Okay, so what are we actually doing with this assignment? What does the rubric say? Okay, and remember that the rubrics are available in our classroom space, and if you would like a PDF sent directly to you, I can do that as well. So, what we need to do is have a couple different parts to this assignment. We're going to have three specific approaches or sections, if you will, in this assignment. What we're going to do is actually write a paper reflection on our experience. The first part of our submission here is going to be answering the following specific questions. What feedback from your peers will you incorporate into your final short story? What did you find particularly useful about that feedback? Give 2 or 3 specific examples on that feedback or the changes that you've made as a result. We want to be specific here. What specific feedback do you intend to use? If you didn't get any feedback, reflect on what your professor has given you for feedback as well. Remember, the peer review workshop activities is subjective to how dedicated students are to the activity. So if you didn't get substantial feedback, feel free to go ahead and reflect on the feedback that I have given you. Okay? So that's the first question. The second question we need to answer is, what feedback from your peers or your instructor did you not find useful? And again, let's go beyond just saying, no, this wasn't useful, I'm not going to use it. Talk about why it doesn't fit your vision for your piece. Reflection isn't just about giving cursory answers, it's about us thinking about the project, the world that we are creating. So, what wasn't useful and why didn't it fit into your vision? And then answer, what was the most helpful and most frustrating part of the peer review process? Um, and this is really subjective. What worked for you? What didn't? What was valuable? What was frustrating? Just what's your gut response to this activity? This will help me make sure that our next workshopping activity works a little bit more smoothly if I can. The second section that we are going to be working on is answering this set of questions based on the feedback that you provided to the workshop. So the first couple questions are about the feedback that you got. The next set of questions are about the feedback that you give. Okay. So we want to talk about, in providing actionable recommendations concerning the effectiveness of your peer submissions, what did you learn about the process and the writing development yourself? So as you were reading through your peers' activities, your peers' submissions, what did you learn about your own approach to this writing process? Okay. Feedback activities work both ways. We're assessing others and we're learning about our own approach. Then the next part of this assignment, we want to explain your own strategy for offering feedback to your peers. So how did you approach it? What steps did you take? This section is going to lay the groundwork for an upcoming assignment that we have in a few weeks. So give it some serious consideration on how did you approach feedback and how would you do it differently in the future, and how did giving feedback help yourself both as a writer and as someone who is providing feedback. The third section of this assignment is going to be a reflection on the piece called Brownies by ZZ Packer, in which emphasizes the importance of character development in fiction. So reflect how effective character development in your own character sketch might link to the plot of your final story. So let's talk about how effective ZZ Packer is in her story Brownies in terms of character development, and then talk about how you could use your own character development in your own story to add depth and effectiveness to your storytelling. And we will be revisiting this in the future with another reflection assignment. So do approach this, with great care and critical thought on the overall process as well as your response to the story and how you can use character development as we move forward. We want this to be about 1 to 2 to 3 pages. There's no maximum length on how long this could be. I want you to be as detailed and open to the experience as you can be, but do have a minimum of 1 to 2 pages for this, please. Let's take a look at our critical elements to make sure that we are hitting them all. This is our rubric, and again, I'm not going to go over all of them, but let's look at the key elements that we need to be focusing on. Did you explore which feedback you received that was particularly useful, and do you provide specific examples and why those examples were useful to you? At the same token, did you explore things that were not so useful and the feedback that wasn't so useful? And do you provide specific examples and talk about why it wasn't useful? Don't just say, no, that wasn't useful. Let's explore what wasn't working for you, why it didn't fit into your vision. This allows us to help improve our own strategies as we move forward. The third critical element that we are looking for is, do you explore what was both helpful and frustrating with this process? The fourth critical element that we're looking at is an exploration of the actionable recommendations that you provided. Do you describe what you found personally useful in providing those actionable suggestions to your peers? So you provided those actionable suggestions. How does that impact you as both a writer and a person who's doing a workshop? What did you find particularly useful about that? Do you provide a specific strategy? Do you explain your specific strategy on how you approach peer review? And then we also want to talk about ZZ Packer's story in terms of character development and plot, and how you can apply character development to push your plot further. And then finally, we want to look at our articulation. And that just means, are you writing well? Are your mechanics and your grammar, effective? Can I understand what you're saying? Are your sentences complete? And that sort of stuff. So again, what we're doing essentially with this assignment is reflecting on the whole workshopping experience and exploring the short story Brownies by ZZ Packer in terms of character development and driving our plot. If you have any questions about this activity, let me know. You can hit me up through chat, text, you can give me a call. We can do a Zoom meeting if you prefer, and we can, of course, talk about this in our general discussion forum. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. And as you guys know, hopefully, you definitely got this.